What I'm about to share is one of the most emotional cases Judge Frank Caprio has ever seen. A moment so powerful it left an entire courtroom in tears and forever changed how everyone there understood courage. On a quiet morning in Providence Municipal Court, a case appeared on the docket that seemed ordinary at first glance. Unpaid traffic fines, minor violations, nothing unusual. But what happened next would become one of the most unforgettable moments in that courtroom's history. The case belonged to the Ramirez family. The fines totaled $420, accumulated over months of small traffic citations, an expired registration, a broken taillight, parking violations. A simple note beside the file read, "Defendant speak limited English." As Judge Caprio reviewed the paperwork, the courtroom carried its usual rhythm: nervous defendants, rustling documents, the quiet tension of people waiting for judgment. At exactly 10:45 a.m., the bailiff called the case. And then everything stopped. Instead of two adults stepping forward, a child approached the defendant's table. A 10-year-old girl. She was small, wearing a neatly pressed school uniform, her long dark hair tied back. Clutched tightly against her chest was a manila folder, held like it contained something priceless. Behind her stood her parents, Maria and Carlos Ramirez, frozen in fear. Maria stayed close to the wall, barely lifting her eyes. Carlos stared at the floor, overwhelmed by a courtroom they didn't fully understand. But their daughter did. Her name was Sophia Ramirez. Despite her size, Sophia walked forward with quiet determination. Every step she took carried the weight of her family's future. Inside her folder were translated documents, handwritten notes, and something far more powerful: hope. Hope that she could protect the people she loved most. Carlos Ramirez worked 2 jobs to support his family. Long hours, little rest. Every citation came from trying to survive, driving to work, picking up extra shifts, doing whatever it took to provide. But the fines piled up faster than they could be paid, becoming a threat not just to their finances, but to their stability. When the clerk announced the case, confusion rippled through the courtroom. Why was a child standing at the front? Judge Caprio looked up and instantly understood this was no ordinary moment. His expression softened. He had seen hardship before. He had heard every story imaginable. But seeing a child step forward to speak for her parents changed everything. "Good morning," Judge Caprio said gently, his voice lowering with care. "What's your name, sweetheart?" The courtroom was silent. Sophia lifted her chin, held her folder a little tighter, and prepared to speak. Not for herself, but for her family. In that moment, courage took the smallest form imaginable, and justice prepared to show its most human face. "My name is Sophia Elena Ramirez, Your Honor," the girl says clearly. Her English is flawless. Only a faint accent remains, a quiet echo of her family's long journey. "I'm here to speak for my parents, Maria and Carlos Ramirez." Judge Caprio slowly sets his paperwork aside. Not casually, completely. In that single gesture, the courtroom understands something important. This moment deserves full attention. "Sophia," he asked gently, "how old are you?" "I'm 10 years old, Your Honor," she replies. "I'll be 11 next month." A hush settles over the room. Not the tense silence of a courtroom, but a respectful one. Everyone present realizes they are witnessing something extraordinary. A child shouldering a responsibility far heavier than her years. "And can you tell me why you're speaking for your parents today?" Judge Caprio asks. Sophia takes a deep breath. Her fingers tighten around the folder she's holding. "Your Honor, my mama and papa work very hard," she says softly. "But English is very difficult for them. They're afraid they might say something wrong and cause problems for our family. I learn English in school. I understand better. So, I came to help them." Judge Caprio's expression changes. It's no longer just concern, it's recognition. He sees not a child reciting words, but a daughter carrying love, fear, and responsibility all at once. "I see," he says. "And you understand these are traffic violations your father received?" "Yes, Your Honor." She doesn't hesitate. "My papa works at a restaurant from 6 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon," she continues. "Then he cleans offices from 5 until midnight." A ripple moves through the courtroom. This 10-year-old is not guessing. She knows her parents' schedule because she lives inside their sacrifice. As she speaks, Sophia opens her folder, carefully organizing documents with the precision of someone who practiced this moment again and again. She explains each paper calmly, clearly, not like a child, but like someone who knows failure is not an option. Sophia, Judge Caprio says quietly, these preparations are very impressive. Did someone help you put all this together? No, Your Honor, she replies. My teacher, Mrs. Johnson, taught me about being responsible and preparing for important things. I stayed after school for 3 days to make sure everything was perfect for my family. Judge Caprio glances toward Maria and Carlos. They stand frozen behind their daughter, eyes filled with pride, fear, and gratitude, unable to speak, yet trusting her with everything. And if your heart is already breaking watching this child carry her parents' fear on her shoulders, stay with me, because what Sophia explains next reveals why this family lives in constant fear, and why this moment changes the courtroom forever. Judge Caprio stands up from the bench, but instead of authority, his movements carry tenderness. He walks around to the front and lowers himself to Sophia's eye level. Sophia, he says, I want you to know something. What you're doing for your family takes incredible courage. She nods, but her eyes flick briefly toward her parents. Can you help me understand, he continues gently, why your parents are so afraid to speak in court? Sophia looks back at her mother and father, and in her eyes is something no child should have to carry. Your Honor, she says quietly, my mama and papa came to America to give me and my little brother Miguel a better life. But they're very afraid of authorities. They think if they say something wrong, we might have to leave. The room feels smaller now, heavier. Judge Caprio kneels slightly closer. Sophia, he asks carefully, are your parents here legally in the United States? The question hangs in the air. Sophia doesn't look away. Your Honor, she answers, my mama and papa are working very hard to fix their papers. They have a lawyer, Mr. Peterson, who is helping them, but it takes a long time, and they're afraid that even small trouble could hurt everything. She reaches back into her folder. From it, she pulls a business card and several official-looking documents. Here is Mr. Peterson's card, she says, handing it forward. And these papers show my parents are in the middle of applying for, she pauses, struggling for the word, for asylum. Her voice lowers. They had to leave our country because it was dangerous for our family. Judge Caprio accepts the documents with careful, almost reverent hands, because in front of him is not just a case file. It's a child who learned bravery too early, and a family held together by love, fear, and hope. And in this moment, justice is about to reveal its most human side. In that moment, Sophia entrusts Judge Caprio with her family's most precious secret, their fragile immigration status. He pauses, choosing his next words with care. Sophia, he asks gently, you said it was dangerous in your country. Can you tell me what that means? Sophia's voice softens, but her resolve sharpens. Your Honor, she says, in our country, my papa saw bad men do bad things. He told the police. The bad men found out, and they said they would hurt me and my brother Miguel if my papa didn't stop. The courtroom exhales as one. This is no longer a traffic case. This is survival. Sophia reaches into her folder one last time and pulls out something unexpected. A school report card. Straight A's. Perfect attendance. She holds it up carefully. Your Honor, she continues, while we wait, I go to school every day. I study very hard. My mama cleans houses during the day. My papa works 2 jobs. We pay taxes. We follow the rules. But sometimes, car rules are confusing when you're tired from working so much. Judge Caprio studies the report card. He doesn't just see grades, he sees proof. Proof of discipline. Proof of sacrifice. Proof of a family doing everything right, even when life makes it hard. Sophia, he says softly, these grades are excellent. Tell me something. What do you want to be when you grow up? For the first time since she stepped forward, Sophia smiles. I want to be a lawyer, Your Honor, she says. Like Mr. Peterson. I want to help families who come to America to be safe. I want to make sure no little girl has to come to court to speak for her mama and papa because they're afraid. That single sentence hits the courtroom like a wave. This isn't just courage. This is purpose being born. Judge Caprio leans back slightly, taking a moment to collect himself. When he speaks again, his voice carries both authority and compassion, the wisdom of decades on the bench and the humility of a man witnessing something rare. Sophia, he says, I want you to turn around and look at your parents. She does. Maria and Carlos stand frozen, their eyes filled with fear, pride, and love, their future resting entirely in their daughter's courage. Now, Judge Caprio continues, I want you to tell them, in Spanish, that they do not need to be afraid in my courtroom. Tell them Judge Caprio says they are welcome here. Sophia's eyes widen. She turns and speaks quickly in Spanish. As her words reach them, Maria breaks down quietly, covering her mouth. Carlos places a steady, protective hand on Sophia's shoulder. Judge Caprio addresses them slowly and clearly. Mr. and Mrs. Ramirez, please come forward. Hesitantly, still holding their daughter close, they step toward the bench. Sophia, Judge Caprio says, tell your parents I understand why they came to America. Protecting your children from danger is what any good parent would do. She translates. Tears flow freely now, not from fear, but from relief. And tell them this, he continues. Working 2 jobs, paying taxes, raising a daughter who earns straight A's and dreams of becoming a lawyer. That's exactly the kind of family America needs. The courtroom is silent. Judge Caprio returns to his bench, but his role has shifted. He is no longer just a judge. He is a protector. Sophia, he says, I'm not only dismissing these traffic violations. I'm going to do something I've never done before. He reaches for his phone, right there in open court. Mr. Peterson, he says into the receiver. This is Judge Frank Caprio. I have the Ramirez family in my courtroom, and I want to personally recommend their asylum case. This family represents everything that's right about immigration to America. Gasps ripple through the room. Judge Caprio sets the phone down and looks back at Sophia. I want you to come back to my courtroom in 1 year, he says, smiling. Not for trouble, but to show me your report card and tell me how your family is doing. He pauses. Can you promise me that? Sophia nods, tears in her eyes, her voice barely above a whisper. Yes, Your Honor. And in that moment, justice doesn't just rule, it embraces. Eagerly, all fear now replaced by hope, Sophia nods. Yes, Your Honor, she says. We will come back and show you we are good Americans. Judge Caprio smiles warmly. You already are good Americans, Sophia, he says. You already are. The courtroom erupts into sustained applause. People rise to their feet as the Ramirez family embraces, a moment that transforms years of fear into a future filled with possibility. But what happens after Sophia leaves the courtroom becomes just as powerful as what happened inside it. As the family walks down the hallway, strangers approach them, people who witnessed a child's courage and felt called to act. Mrs. Chun, an elderly woman waiting for her own case, gently stops Maria. Through Sophia's translation, she offers additional house cleaning work. Your daughter's courage shows what kind of family you are, she says. I want to help. Moments later, Dr. Williams, a local pediatrician who had been in court for a minor traffic matter, introduces himself to Carlos. Anyone who raises a daughter like Sophia deserves every opportunity to succeed, he says, offering Carlos a part-time position at his clinic. But the most touching moment comes later that evening. Sophia's teacher, Mrs. Johnson, having heard about the court appearance from other students, visits the family at home. Sophia, she says softly, I've spoken with the principal and the school counselor. We're going to make sure you have extra support for college preparation. She smiles. Your dream of becoming a lawyer isn't just possible, it's inevitable. She hands Sophia a stack of books on law, civics, and American history. These will help you learn how to help other families like yours. Within days, Sophia's story spreads across Providence. Local news interviews the Ramirez family. Once again, Sophia translates confidently, explaining her family's journey with the same calm strength she showed in Judge Caprio's courtroom. "My parents are heroes," Sophia tells the reporter. "They saved me and my brother Miguel by bringing us to America. Now I want to help other families feel safe too." The segment airs on the evening news. The response is overwhelming. Letters, phone calls, offers of help, invitations to dinner. Dozens of families reach out, proving that compassion multiplies when courage leads the way. Soon after, Mr. Peterson, their immigration lawyer, calls with life-changing news. Judge Caprio's personal recommendation, combined with Sophia's extraordinary appearance in court, has made a difference. The family's asylum case is moving forward. 1 year later, exactly as promised, Sophia returns to Judge Caprio's courtroom. But this time, she isn't carrying fear. She's carrying report cards, certificates, and photographs, proof of a family thriving. Now 11 years old and noticeably more confident, Sophia approaches the bench with her parents standing proudly beside her. "Good morning, Your Honor," she says with a bright smile. "I kept my promise. I came back to show you how we're doing." Judge Caprio beams. "Sophia, look at you," he says. "You look like you've grown a foot taller." She laughs. "It has been the best year of our lives, Your Honor," she says. "My parents received their asylum status 3 months ago. We are officially safe in America." She hands him her report card. "Straight A's again, but now more. I was elected to student government," she continues. "And I started a club called New Americans, where immigrant kids help each other with school and teach others about our cultures." Carlos steps forward. This time, he speaks for himself, carefully, proudly, in English. "Your Honor," he says, "when Sophia came here last year, we were afraid. Now we feel American." Maria smiles and adds softly, also in English, "Sophia teaches us English every night after homework. She says we must learn, so we can help other families who are afraid, like we were." Sophia reaches into her folder one last time and pulls out a certificate. "Your Honor," she says, "this is from my school. It says Student of the Year for Leadership and Courage." Judge Caprio looks at her, not as a judge now, but as a witness to something extraordinary. Because this case was never about traffic violations. It was about courage, about family, and about what justice looks like when it's guided by compassion. And somewhere in that courtroom, a little girl who once stood trembling before a judge now stands tall, already becoming the lawyer she dreamed of being. "I received the scholarship you recommended me for," Sophia says, her voice steady but glowing with pride. "I'm enrolled in a summer program at Brown University for gifted students interested in law and public service." Judge Caprio examines the certificate carefully, a smile forming even before he finishes reading. "Sophia," he says gently, "this program is for high school students. You're only 11. Sophia nods. "The program director said my essay was so good they made an exception," she explains. "I wrote about helping immigrant families, and about meeting you. I wrote that I learned judges don't just punish, they help." Judge Caprio looks at the certificate again, then at Sophia, then at Maria and Carlos, standing tall now, no longer afraid, their dignity unmistakable. "Sophia," he asks softly, "do you remember what you told me you wanted to be when you grow up?" "A lawyer, Your Honor," she answers without hesitation, "to help families like mine." Judge Caprio pauses. "Well," he says, "I have something to tell you." The knowing smile returns. The Providence Bar Association has created a new scholarship for students from immigrant families who want to pursue law. Sophia's eyes widen. They're calling it the Sophia Ramirez Future Advocate Scholarship. She freezes. "They named it after me?" "They did," Judge Caprio says, "because you taught everyone something important. Courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about doing what's right, even when you are afraid." The courtroom fills with emotion once again. Judge Caprio turns to the audience, many of whom came just to witness Sophia's return. "Ladies and gentlemen," he says, "1 year ago, a 10-year-old girl taught all of us what it truly means to be American. Not where you're born, but how you live. Courage, family, loyalty, hard work, and faith in a better future." He looks back at Sophia. You kept every promise you made in this courtroom, he says. And now America gets to keep the promise it made to your family. That hard work, courage, and dreams can come true here. Sophia Ramirez's story travels far beyond Providence. It becomes a symbol of what's possible when compassion meets courage, when fear gives way to hope, and when a community chooses to lift a family instead of turning away. 2 years later, Sophia is invited to speak at the National Immigration Law Conference. Standing before a room filled with judges, attorneys, and advocates, she speaks with the same quiet strength she showed in Judge Caprio's courtroom. When I was 10 years old, she says, I learned that being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means protecting the people you love, even when you are scared. The room rises in a standing ovation. 3 law schools offer her guaranteed admission upon graduating high school. Judge Caprio, seated in the audience that day, later reflects, Sophia didn't just defend her family in my courtroom. She defended the idea that America's strength comes from families like hers, people who risk everything for their children's future. The Sophia Ramirez Future Advocate Scholarship goes on to help 12 other immigrant students pursue legal education. Each recipient commits to providing pro bono immigration services to families in need. Maria and Carlos Ramirez open a small neighborhood restaurant, employing other immigrant families and helping them navigate life in America. Sophia works there on weekends, still translating, still advocating, still helping families who remind her of her own journey. Now 13 and in high school, she interns at Mr. Peterson's law office every summer, preparing families for immigration hearings with the same care and determination she once brought to her own family's case. Every family I help, Sophia says, I remember being that scared 10-year-old girl. I want them to know America has room for families who work hard and dream big. And friends, Sophia's story reminds us of something we often forget. Courage can come in the smallest packages. Families seeking safety and opportunity are the same families that built this nation. And sometimes, a child's bravery teaches adults what justice and compassion truly mean. Because real justice doesn't just enforce the law. It lifts people up and gives them a future.